So for a lot of people, they're still integrating revelations, course corrections, and things that were triggered during eclipse time. With the March 3rd lunar eclipse activating, the nodes, which eclipses do, the Virgo energy is very, very strong as a south node. So a lot of people are checking in with their physiology, their physical body, the way the mind talks to the body, because the polarity integration of Virgo south node to north node Pisces is very much about that body, mind, spirit communication, um, and stepping into the Piscean, because that's what the North Node is all about, is what we're stepping into and integrating, shows the growth period of humanity right now. And with the conjunctions with Saturn and Neptune, and also Venus recently, in Aries, Neptune being the ruler um, of Pisces, it's really showing that it's not just stepping into the Piscean energy and what it represents in connection with the multidimensional, the creative imagination, the mystical, also self-undoing and addiction spirals. We're stepping into the solar plexus embodiment of what that means. Saturn conjunct Neptune begins to dissolve. The structure of Saturn in its inverted expression begins to dissolve, and we're seeing that in the world. Saturn rules structure, discipline, responsibilities, outer authority. And when Saturn is expressed in its shadow, which we've been experiencing on the planet, where we see tyranny and control and misuse of power, control agendas, this dissolution is helping us to step into the higher octave of Saturn, which has to do with self-mastery and understanding the responsibilities that we want, the disciplines that are healthy for us so that we can thrive, and where the responsibilities we might not be able to walk away from. How can we begin to integrate our creative imagination into the situation in order to shift it into something more ideal? And this is where perception comes in. This is where the Virgo South Node comes in. How does the mind speak to the body? Is this negative self-talk? Is it programmings? Because the body cannot stand that anymore. What kind of dialogue is the mind having with the body? And our physical lifestyle. Virgo also rules routine and work, our connection with nature and animals. But, our routine and work, what is the quality of that? Do we feel drained? Do we feel like our energy is being siphoned? Because the polarity integration of Virgo and Pisces is very much about that. When we're in the lower astral or communicating with aspects of our creative imagination that is harnessed by dark entities or archonic forces, we tend to stay in trauma loops, or the breakthroughs are much harder to come by. It's easy to have the mind talk to the body, a lot of negativity, whether that's about what's going on the world stage or something in your own personal life, or both. This is where we can change the script of our physical reality, of the timeline that we're on. And it's not about being on or off the ascension timeline. It's about removing the energetic cords with something inverted that's taking us into or down a trajectory that is not ideal, that is maybe more doom and gloom, which we don't want to feed. So, once we release ourselves from those attachments or energetic cords or dependencies, on, a trajectory that doesn't feel right, our creative energy comes back to us and we're really able to manifest in a beautiful way. So there's a lot of attention this week on Mars and the North Node and how destiny is connected with this. Destiny to me is not fixed. It's more about reclamation of your soul expression. You're destined to experience that because life's lessons are always bringing us closer to it. The inversions of the system, though, has wanted us to lose connection with that in order to depend on something external. So it's a very, very powerful time to look at your willpower, to look at your solar plexus ego identity. Because with the Aries, Saturn, Neptune, which Mars rules, it's asking us to not be so compartmentalized as humans on an egoic level. We want to dissolve where Saturn has engineered our personas, controlled or limited our personas, or thrown us into a lot of fear and anxiety. So that Saturn and Mars and Neptune, connected to the creative imagination, becomes a vehicle through the ego identity to express higher dimensional awareness, the dreams and visions we want to manifest, and a new sense of self-identity that isn't limited to 3D, to something external. And what it dictates to us. It's really about divine human embodiment. And I've been doing, a lot of talks on this, and roundtables, particularly on these aspects. But I want to get into, Jupiter going direct this week. Jupiter going direct in the sign of Cancer has formed squares with Chiron. It's been very much about the mother wound, bringing that to the surface, where we might feel insecure or a sort of emotional instability connected with that foundational bond that might not be as strong as we'd like, or maybe with our own children. But in a larger picture sense, what is coming up for people is the wounded earth, the wounded mother, in the bigger picture sense of it. What are the dark mother reversal grids? What is the mothers of darkness Illuminati architecture all about? What is this harvest and siphoning reversal grid technology and how that's been implanted in the planetary grid network? So the more we bring this trauma or these wounds to the surface, the more the unconditional love of the mother can come through. So it might be a very powerful time for people healing their relationship with their mother, their inner mother, their relationship with their children, anything, related to this. And for those that might have a wonderful relationship with the mother energy, maybe you've been, called more into positions of, taking care of others or nurturing others that might be struggling with that. So, there's always that micro macro thing going on. And we're not all going to experience the aspects in the same sort of way. That's why I love to work with people one-on-one, because we're not all experiencing these aspects in the same way. There's still a lot to move through. It's a time of, incredible purging. Yes, the horse wants to just run, right? Especially with the Mars North Node conjunction right now. But, you know, I think some people are really allowing this Mercury retrograde, that's conjunct Mars this week, to pull them into a process of deep, deep self-reflection before taking off, before just like going full throttle. So it's a very, very powerful time for self-reflection. Yes, Jupiter's going direct, so things might be opening up more, in terms of, uh, what that means, expansion, maybe a move in the department of Cancer, having to do with home and family and relationship with, mother, but also, our creative and intuitive nature and our capacity to give birth to things. So something might come to fruition now that you've been waiting on. But Mercury retrograde might be pulling it back a little bit before you feel, more momentum. You might be completing things that you've already started, but initiating new things sometimes not the best idea during a Mercury retrograde, not because it's cursed, but because Mercury retrograde is pulling the mind towards a more inward process, more self-reflection. With the Mercury planet ruling Virgo and Gemini, the fact that the South Node is Virgo, which Mercury rules, is helping us to pull back and change the script, change the dialogue, change the way we perceive reality. It doesn't mean turn a blind eye or be in denial, but it's really about looking at what you're angry at and realizing that's part of the passion and forward moving momentum. What kind of action do you want to take that is going to feel aligned with your soul? And that's the North Node. So South Node Virgo to North Node Pisces with Mars conjunct is really lighting up. Moving in the direction of following your intuition, your dreams, your visions, your hopes. Also being prepared for maybe the things you don't feel you have a whole lot of control over without allowing the fear to overtake you. So it's a very, very powerful window. The North Node, Mercury conjunct Mars retrograde, is really humanity also on a larger picture level reevaluating, who's been in charge. So much is going to be coming to the surface, so much more. I mean, so much has come to the surface, and it's just going to continue. It's like a domino effect. The hard part right now is navigating the Neptune aspect in its shadow expression, with Saturn still in its shadow expression, and how we see it playing out, not what we're working on internally, how it through like the media and through these different, outlets, there's a lot of CGI, there's a lot of AI, there's a lot of false news stories, there's a lot of attempts to mitigate what's happening, but it's dissolving. There's no way to stop this. And what the momentum is all about is humanity saying we're in charge, we're the powers that be, the reclamation of the inner sacred union, the Christos Sophia, how that relates to the planetary grids and the awakening of dormant DNA. The planetary intelligence knows exactly what to do in order for it to heal its own planetary system, to bring the balance of the masculine and feminine back. This whole inverted system has been about the distraction and the loss of connection and, the constant trigger events and trauma loops. Now, everything being exposed and coming to light is helping us to see the deeper underbelly, child trafficking rings, harvest and siphoning of innocence, organ harvest. I mean, just in every pillar of society where that underbelly might exist, in the social engineering, in the geoengineering. Anyway, it's a time of reclamation of our power, of our soul, awareness, our creative energy, our capacity to allow this all to move away and shed, and where we cut the cords, and step back, and what we're allowing to emerge to become more embodied and less hidden. So, it's a time of exposure also of our inner treasures and the depth of who we truly are, how we've been played and manipulated. And so in a lot of ways, there's so much more to look forward to than how it might look. And anyway, I'd love to assist with people with more one-on-one. I'm going to do more webinars, more group calls I will make available and share about. And I got some events coming up. So anyway, the nodes really impact our soul growth, both personally and collectively. And that's what the eclipse energies are all about. But the Mars square Uranus can be very impulsive, right? So we see, what happened on the world stage recently. And this was during a time where Mars was square Uranus. It's a very destabilizing energy. It can be very volatile. It can be quick to act without a whole lot of self-reflection. And it can take a lot to undo what happens when Mars square Uranus isn't harnessed or isn't worked with on a level of taking a pause. It's the kind of thing where, something might happen out of left field. And then with all that Saturn and all the grounding of energies based on decisions and eclipse energies, then it's like, whoa, the horse takes that energy and moves it forward. And then it's like, how do you pull that back? If that makes any sense. I'm going to be kind of careful how much I share in this sort of recording, but just wanted to say that it's a very destabilizing energy. And sometimes it's important to take a breath and wait through these sort of periods, instead of make huge decisions. So anyway, doesn't mean they can't be mitigated or resolved, but some things last a lot longer than we'd like to see. And just hoping for peace on this earth and the end of wars and suffering. My recent articles talk about the Iran-Iraqi border, the 10th gate, the Black Sun agenda. I've been going deep into galactic history for quite some time. And so hopefully you can check that out on Substack. Your support means everything. It gives me the opportunity to put a lot of time into these articles and weekly astrology reports. But I'll keep putting out free material as well. And you can subscribe. I'll share the link in the description. And otherwise, it's just $8 a month. And you can, benefit from, discounts and different things that I'll be posting sporadically. My calendar is very full, so I share blasts of when I'm available for half-hour sessions, and I'll be putting more of that out there. But enjoy the emerging divine self, and have boundaries to, the energies that are external that are sabotaging your ability to hold, strong trust and faith in yourself and what's unfolding for you. The true timeline that is waiting for you to embody, and not get tripped up with this other one that is only artificial and only alive as long as we feed it, because it doesn't have anything else to keep it alive except for our belief in it, our consent, um, our creative energy being used in order to allow it to continue. That's why it's called artificial. It's not that technology is bad either when it comes to AI. It's about being that override frequency, which I talk about a lot, and in connection with the Divine Mother, the 13th gate, the 13th sign of Fiacus. So I hope this was helpful today. My recent astrological report just gives the daily energies Monday through Sunday, but just wanted to share some of the highlights of this week. And the new moon coming, March 18th, is a good time to really reset energy if you find things have gotten a bit out of control or you're struggling to catch your breath. And your physical body might, be overwhelmed. Doesn't mean that you're stuck in a programming or stuck in a loop. Sometimes that, physical discomfort, is a process of releasing things that no longer serve you. So it's very, very important, especially with this Neptune, to get as much rest as possible, not judge it, not say, oh, I'm lazy, or why am I sleeping so much? Or, really, this Virgo South Node to North Node Pisces is about the body, mind, spirit connection that includes absolutely listening to what your body needs and prioritizing it, and realizing that dis-ease is an opportunity to get to know yourself better. We can collapse bioweapons and all these sort of attempts to compromise our health through overriding the social engineering aspect of it. There's nothing that spirit can't overcome. And spirit occupying the physical vessel to the full is how we get our health back, how we get our power back, and our capacity to dream without interference. So we have to be patient with ourselves and each other. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Take care, everybody. I'll put also my website. You can get all that in the description. And I'm working on an upcoming webinar, and it's going to get into the inverted zodiac, the shadow side of planetary alignments, and the higher octave as well, and my thoughts on disclosure, and so much more. So I'll be sharing that too very, very soon as I'm sure that those dates are good. All right. Take care, everybody. Much love.